Good morning, Angela Jamieson. How are you?
Good morning, JoAnne. I am doing very well, thanks. How are you?
I am good now that we're together. Angela and I have known each other for probably over 5 years now. We actually had an episode I will put in the show notes. We did an episode a few years ago about engineering your life, which used to be one of your courses, right?
Yeah, it still is. I renamed it to relaxed productivity because I realized engineers don't want help with their lives because we figure out we can do it ourselves. We're just those stubborn people in life.
Oh, yes, you are. And today is going to be bringing a lot of humor because Angela is an engineer by studies and trade, but she is also author, a publisher, a creative, and she doesn't know that she's a comedian, but she is. Or maybe you do know you're a comedian,
No,
and
I
your
don't.
family knows that you're a comedian.
I don't know. Don't ask my kids.
Uh, I know. Never ask your kids. My kids are my worst critics. So,
Yeah.
but today we're going to talk about well, it's not a newly released book. The book came out last year, correct?
Yeah.
Last year?
Yeah.
It's been a year. I can't believe it's been a
Yeah.
year.
It's lived a life of its own in a year. And I was just talking about it in my socials the other day of how you let things go and you live their own life. And people say, "Oh, how's your book selling?" And it's like, I have no clue. It's kind of like, what did your kid do last night? I have no clue. You just gotta let things go.
Yeah.
And they are what they are when I let go of it. And now it's living its own life. So
And
we
that should. And as it
yeah,
should. It's like you birthed another child into the world and it's
yeah.
learning to walk. And
That's right, and
that's
nobody wants a 35-year-old child living in their basement, so get on with it, right?
exactly. So the book is called Using Number Two to Get to Number One, the shockingly insightful, full of crap self help book.
So full of crap.
I, I love that. And I love how you eloquently use the crap word instead of the SHI.
Seven words, yeah.
Yes, the shiitake word.
I think I used it, like, a couple of times, but I thought, "I don't talk like that, so I shouldn't write like that."
Right. Yeah. And I think it's so well done and so many laugh out loud moments that I had reading it. So I would say that this book, I'm going to have you bring the listeners into how you came to write it. But I want to give the overview from my take. It's the best book that you could read about number two, the philosophical, emotional, mental, and physical way. So this book is more than just the actual physical act of doing number two. But it's going to teach you so many things. It's going to teach you life lessons. There's so many life stories that you share. And also the business takes, the entrepreneurial background that you have and how you interwove it into the stories. I love it. It's going to teach the entrepreneur, the business owner, the mother, the father, whoever you are. I feel this book is written for humanity. So thank
And
you.
you know why? You know why? It speaks
Because
to all those people. Uh-huh, you say it.
because everyone poops.
Poop.
So there's going to be a lot of the POOP word today.
Yeah.
So Angela, just tell us like how you came to this book and why you wrote it.
Well, it has been nestled in my brain cells for probably 2 decades. I remember telling a colleague of mine when I think it was like 2003, there isn't even a 20 in there. It's a 2003. So it was like over 2 decades ago what the title was. And he loved it. And he was just like, you got to write this book. So the good thing is I had one child at that time. And over the years, I've added two more, and the last two were boys, and they're just a little special with their digestive thoughts. So I think waiting wasn't a bad thing because I was able to add to the stories that I was able to include. So I think I just have this propensity towards the whole poop thing, and I describe it in the first chapter. Did you want me to actually go through that story?
Yeah, a summary would be great because it really is like your origin, like how
It
you came to
is
really think about this. You
too
know,
much.
yeah,
Yeah.
too much. Go ahead with the story.
Okay, we know all weird stuff of all of us, all our quirks and personality comes from trauma. And this is probably my trauma. Is I grew up on an acreage in nowhere, Canada, and as we were, growing up, I guess our septic pump kept getting plugged with stuff, enraging my father. Who wants to deal with a poop pump, really? So I get it. I get it. I was like, props to you, Dad. So he was just saying, you guys are using too much toilet paper. Stop it. And he could hear my siblings. And I must say, because once he started saying that he was listening to us hit the toilet paper roll,
Yeah,
'cause
yeah.
you never find the end, right? So you're
Yeah.
hitting it. And he's envisioning like a pussycat, hitting it and it's all falling to the floor and then we're picking it up and using it. But no, you're just trying to find the end. Anyway, I did mine very quietly, but my sibs just kept hitting it. So he was pretty sure it was due to our toilet paper usage.
Mhm.
So he took the rash decision to take all the toilet paper out of the toilets, put one in his pocket, hide the rest of the package, and we would have to find him and tell him what we're doing. And then he would give us one square for number one and two squares for number two.
Oh,
So yeah, there was times, and when you're a kid, do you plan when you go to the bathroom? No, it just creeps up on you because you're playing with record players and stuff, or outside, and then suddenly you got to pee or poop. So I had to run and find my dad. We have 10 acres. He's landscaping, God knows where. I'm a very good pooper outsider. But, and then you have to go to him and tell him what you're going to do. And then sometimes, like, you don't make it. So, anyway, that is my trauma. And
yeah.
I think that's why I think about going to the bathroom far too much. Like, it's
Yeah.
just a huge awareness in my life. When you walk into a public bathroom and you see there's 7 stalls and maybe number 3 and number 7 are taken, and you just go, where do I go? Where is it the good spacing between poopers? Do you ever think of that? Like, I think of it all the time. Is it 1? Is it 5?
Yeah. No, and I guess it is a subconscious thing. When I read the book, I kept thinking, like, everybody has these thoughts. We sometimes talk about them, we sometimes don't. But like all of this stuff. Yeah, I sometimes think about which is the cleanest. Are the people going in number one because it's the closest to the door, or are they going into the
That
last one?
ooh, I I love you even more, JoAnne. This is
And
exactly
so I
my
always like push the
process.
doors open and kind of choose which looks like the most inviting and the most clean. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it starts with your dad, but then it also starts with your mom too, because
Yeah.
you had
Mhm.
that background of like, which I think everybody does. I mean, I've had that experience as a young child thinking about the mom always, talking about constipation. And you're like, oh my gosh, here we go with the constipation talk and like the enema. Like, you're going to get an enema if you don't do, number two. And it's like,
You were threatened with an enema?
oh yeah, it was terrible.
Oh my gosh. Okay, you have trauma too. But
Yeah, I think we all do. We have our, number two origin stories.
well,
Uh,
and all props to my mom too. And I think you might see as we went along in this book, and it happened when I was writing, because I just thought, my mom's always on my back for being constipated. And to me, constipated means bunged up, like you cannot go.
yeah.
But to her, it wasn't the perfect
Yeah.
sounding poop. Like you are plopping.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why are you listening to me plop?
Yeah.
Like
Like,
just
how
go
dare you? Yeah.
and listen to me. Like go do your stuff and let me just get rid of
We,
my waste. Hello. I
that,
thought this was a private moment between me and the 4 walls. But no. Mother is saying you're constipated. I'm not doing a perfect 10 on the Olympic dive scale. It was not a good entry apparently. So
uh,
I was judged. And so being a people pleaser child, this scars you. It's like I'm not even pooping right. Like
yeah,
how do you do
it
that?
hits you here. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just so yeah. Um, but
And
as you go along and you realize the importance of just eliminating your waste,
exactly.
uh, it's actually a love. You care about the waste of the people you love.
Yeah.
So my mother making sure I'm eliminating properly, we could argue about the style of the dive, but she wanted to make sure I was eliminating,
Yeah.
because she knows that I'm harboring toxins if I don't get rid of my waste.
Exactly. So let's go here. I was so drawn to this, and we had this conversation even before you came out with the book, like, a few years back, when I come from that health and wellness background and the Ayurvedic perspective, and all of that is based on digestion. Like health begins
Yes.
with your digestion, and not only what you're digesting physically, but what you're digesting mentally, emotionally, spiritually. That's why I love this book so much, because you go through the chapters and you unwind or unroll the toilet paper, you unroll it all for us and show us like it's all about letting everything go, like bringing it in, digesting it, taking what we need, and then letting that CRAP or SHIT go, let it go, right? So
Yeah.
this is the metaphor for life. Like it's not
Yeah.
just about number two. I love this. So I want to give an overview really quick, and then I want to dive into each lesson because there's so many lessons here. You have this broken up into like eating, part one, digesting, part two, and then part three, our favorite, the actual act
Pooping.
of eliminating, pooping. Yes, we can say the word. And part four, the affogato, or maybe you're saying it in a different with the.
No, yours was very elegant. I like that. Oh, forgot to.
Okay, yes, affogato. So, and like who we all are, like who are we, and what are we holding on to? And taking a deep dive into that. And then how are we letting it go? So
Yeah.
this is like a deep book. It's deeper than the do not judge a book by its cover, right? Because it's
Yes.
like, it is so true though. How are we getting to number one? By analyzing our number two in all ways. So I want you to give me just the overview on the eating process and touch on that story about how something so tiny can disrupt your whole world.
Yes, your whole world. So that story was my dad was a professor at the University of Saskatchewan. And every 7 years, we would go on a sabbatical. And one year we went to Somalia, which, before all of the country fell apart. But when we were there, a whole bunch of visiting profs came over and they all stayed in our house. We had a house called Canada House that had many rooms that could house all the visiting scholars. And my mom, they said, "Oh, we don't want your wife to cook for us, so let's go out to eat." And little did we know, there was a reason why we didn't always go out to eat. There was just the propensity for stomach bugs. So when we were out, it was a dim night and we were all eating our food. But getting home, I remember starting to go to bed and feeling the rumblies, and my room was right outside the bathroom. I sort of shared a wall with the bathroom, and I could hear someone flushing and someone banging on the door. Are you almost out? Because I really have to go. This is going to be an issue. And yet I was having to go. So I think in the book, I talked about squeezing my butt cheeks and learning the strength of that because it was a necessity.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, there was something in the food we ate together
Mhm.
that caused a huge problem. And so what I related to it in the book is that it's all the little things in life that can really make a big impact.
Yeah.
So it's the words we say, it's the little actions, it's, holding someone's hand, it's the wink, it's all those little things and also the mundane things that create life. They're not, our life isn't like this huge action movie where something's happening all the time, but
No.
it's all the meaningful small things.
Yeah. Well, I did highlight this one part in the book, which I loved in that story at the end. You said if a tiny germ can wreak absolute havoc on the body, a tiny word can heal, inspire, and transform the soul. And I just love that because it's so true.
Oh,
The tiny
yes.
microscopic germ can cause all of that within a matter of hours. And then you think about the words that can either harm or heal in a lifetime. And later in the book, you talk about how we digest those things, and sometimes we don't digest them fully,
Yeah.
and we finally have to eliminate them. Like we have to get rid of them in order to feel, complete or to feel joy again. We're holding on to like all those little bits and pieces that haven't yet been digested. But I love when you talk about the gut brain axis because this is something, big. People have been talking about it for about a decade now. The gut brain, they really know a lot about how the gut affects the brain and how the gut is the second brain, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, do you want to touch on that a little bit? Because I love educating my listeners on you are what you eat, think, and emote, right? It's like
Yeah.
all of that.
You are what you don't poop.
And that too, yeah. You are what you don't eliminate. You become what you don't eliminate. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to preface my comments with I am not an expert in, nutrition or I'm not a internal medical person. I don't
Yeah.
even know the terms for it, right? I
Yeah.
just know how mine works.
Yeah.
And so I say in the book, you know how yours work. And I bet there's some overlap. And that's why we're going to connect on these things.
Yeah.
But what I had read about the gut being the second brain is that so many things happen in our body processes uh,
Mhm.
because of the gut. So that's why it's named the second brain. And what I've seen in my life and I've seen in some friends is that when your gut isn't good, when you have a chronic issue, you can start seeing it in your brain.
Yeah.
So I had a friend who was depressed. He's clinically depressed on drugs, which unfortunately, the Western medicine, you just prescribe things, right, to cover up the real reason. But when I talked to him later, and when I was thinking about this book, and he confessed to me, he goes, I eat Tums like they're candy. He buys, a big box from Costco and he just
Wow.
pops them in. And that was another clue that, hey, his brain isn't really working well because he's kind of something's wrong down there too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've seen it. I've seen it in practice, and there's just more and more evidence that when something's wrong on one of those ends, it's going to start affecting the other as well.
Oh, for sure. And I think people are realizing that now. Like there's the physical part of, paying attention to how you feel after you eat. But then I think people are really tuning in now to how it's making them feel mentally. Are they feeling, cloudy? Are they feeling sharp? All of those things our food definitely affects and our microbiomes and the emotions play a role. So you were talking about like, let's move into the digestive part. Immediately you're digesting food before you even put things in your mouth because it's that 5 sense experience I like to relate into in my, teaching and my writing. Like you're taking in what's around you. That's starting your digestive process before you even put the food in your mouth. The salivary glands and the emotions and the breath work and all that is preparing your digestion.
And
Uh,
and that's the concept behind intuitive eating. I think you and I
yeah,
talked about this before, is that
yeah,
you can look at a food and say, I don't think this is for me. Or it doesn't feel like the right thing for me to eat today.
yeah,
I think
exactly.
that's neat. Yeah, when it comes from all the senses, even before you put it in your mouth.
Yeah. You're asking the body. If you take a moment to ask the body doesn't lie, and the body will tell you, I don't want to choose that today, but I like in the section, mind your own business.
Hey, yes.
Talk to me about minding your own business, which is obviously everybody knows to mind their own business, but relate it to the digestion.
So the beginning quote was, looking in someone else's toilet bowl is gross, and so is obsessing over their life. So everyone has their own stuff,
And I
right?
love that.
Because the interesting thing is we all do this natural process, but we never really talk about it. Like I don't say, so what texture were you today? And then me feeling bad because yours was better than mine. Like I just never we don't talk
No,
about that. So I thought it was a really good metaphor for like don't compare anything else in your life with anyone else's because you don't know everything that's gone before to feed that person. You don't know how their body reacts to certain foods. They can digest things that, you can't, and vice versa. So life should not be a comparison thing.
right. So stay in your own stall, you said.
Stall. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I love that.
so
In your own
the
stall. Stay in your own lane, stay in your own stall. Just be in your stall.
except when you need toilet paper, then you might have to put the hand under. Please, please, anybody. So the thing is, when I was talking about before, when we should use be in really close to somebody in the public things. What if you took a space in between you and they needed help?
Yeah.
What do? You should have gone right beside them.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's
Yeah.
not here nor there. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
the story in Mind Your Own Business chapter that I always laugh about is the suspension bridge. Do you remember that one?
Oh, I was just gonna just ask you about that. I thought that was the funniest story I read, is when the guys from your engineering class came in and talked about the suspension bridge. Yes, definitely share. And I mean, there's so much without giving the whole book away. We have to touch on that story.
Okay, so yeah, I went through engineering. I was the only girl in my class. I did geological engineering, so we were sort of lumped in with the geologists. So there were a few more girls in the pure geology, but I remember sitting in the computer lab, which God knows what we were doing in those days because computers barely were a thing, probably word processing. And then you spend all of your day there and you just live with these guys and they just become your brothers. But one guy, he ran in, he goes, guys, you got to come and see. I did a suspension bridge. And you're like, what the H? So I think at least 6 guys went with him and they were so excited. And I'm like going, what? I'm not going, number one, because that's weird.
Yeah.
But they came back so proud of him. They came back so like they were talking about their own experiences. Like, I've tried to do one, but it always breaks. Or I've I've done a king cobra, but never a suspension bridge. And I'm just like, what are we talking about? Like what? Yeah, I was just these
So
guys really educated me on just stuff. There was no getting away from it. But that started in my vocabulary, the suspension bridge, the king cobra, the
yeah.
coil, you
Yeah.
know. So but what really impressed me was that they were not jealous. They were so proud. They
Mhm.
were celebrating this
Yeah.
guy's, I'm putting in quotes, achievements. That's why I think, there's a really good part to comparison
Yeah.
is lifting each other up, seeing what you could possibly achieve if that brings you joy. Like, I, I
You'll be the first one I call if I have a
thank
suspension.
you.
Angela, I'll WhatsApp you, making sure that you get the message in
Thank you.
Canada.
I cannot wait.
Oh my gosh. No, it's so true. And like guides are more apt to, obviously have those conversations. It's not like the coffee or tea meetup conversation of two women.
No,
Or maybe it will be soon. Who knows?
maybe, but
We're
yeah,
talking about we're talking about hormones more than we ever did in the past, 2 decades.
that's
So,
true. That's true. And I did think about as I was writing this book, I never intended it to be like a book club book, like
yeah.
you can read about it, you can relate to it, it can really resonate with you, but maybe you still don't want to talk about it. And that's like totally fine with me. Like don't come up to me and tell me the color and texture. I don't care.
Yeah.
Just I care that you're doing it and the fact that you're standing in front of me breathing and not looking pale and green shows me that you're alive. Congratulations. Go enjoy my book. And that's all I ask.
And moving on. But you do a great job too of weaving in like the emotions and where they land and how they affect the digestion. And I think that's really important because, when we're on that higher scale, and Angela references the scale in her book, it's, the emotional scale, which goes from joy all the way down to depression and powerlessness. And you can access that in her book when you buy it, because everyone should buy it. But the way that emotions land in our gut and how they affect how we break down food, and then just basically cellular health, like not only how we're breaking down our food with the emotions that are coming in, but how our cells are processing and how our cells are regenerating or degenerating because of our thoughts.
Yes.
And I remember you telling a story. This is another great story from the book. There was the guy that was, I think it is the same guy, the Tums guy. He passed, right, of cancer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's sad because he really didn't know how to process.
Yeah. 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 It's an unfortunate story, but it it just shows me how, and this already, you're just more knowledgeable in this stuff, but your emotions are so connected to your gut. Like as a kid, my mom's telling me I'm constipated, but
Mhm.
like if I have to go and speak in front of my class, I was not constipated. Like I had to go to the bathroom right then and there. So I knew with this messaging my mom was giving me that I was bunged up, my emotions could make me instantly not bunged up.
Yeah.
So I knew there was a connection there without being able to,
Put
put
words
any.
on it. Yeah, that's so true. Well, right. With any kid, they get nervous, they start feeling
Yeah.
like
Their
Either they're
tummy
g
hurts,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
They don't wanna go to school, their tummy hurts, they, you know, gotta
Mhm.
play in a recital or go do a game, your tummy hurts because 'cause you're
Yeah,
nervous. So, yeah, it is. You can tell me it's not, but I think it is.
right, definitely. And so the analogy uses life as a buffet. I love life is better as a
Mm,
buffet.
mhm.
So I let's talk about all of that because that whole analogy is really great. And
Yes. So I did a discussion about this, and we talked about there's a buffet of stuff, and say you go into a buffet and there's oysters, and say you don't like oysters. Uh, Actually, it was sardines. We were talking about sardines, and sardines, yeah, you can take it or leave it, but they've got lots of good vitamins and everything. But anyway, I was saying, don't swear at the sardines. It's like if you don't want them, you just walk right by. Let someone else have them, but you
mhm,
don't have to swear at the sardines. And it's just like anything you see in life that exists,
right.
let it be. If you don't want it, don't put it on your plate. But
Yeah,
someone else might want it. It exists because it might be helpful to someone else.
mhm,
So, like, don't swear at the sardines.
right.
Just
And
let it be and enjoy that buffet that it exists in all its variety to provide for us. And then you can also make the analogy that we are all part of the buffet of life. So
mhm,
the more diverse we are, the more colorful we are. Like
mhm.
what a beautiful world that is. If we were all color, if
Yeah,
we all had the same hairstyle,
yeah,
like come on, like who
yeah,
we want we crave similarity, but we also crave difference. So we're never really satisfied. We're always going for growth. But just enjoy the buffet of life.
yeah. I think that's such a great analogy because, right, it would not be any fun if it was just all pizza or all pasta
No, like
or
you'd like it from my
I'm
kids would like it for a day and then they'd be going, could
I'm
we not have pizza?
I'm
Which
just
it never
mhm.
happens, but
Yeah, no, and I love how you weave in the growth mindset into this, like the growth of, digesting different people and different cultures and different foods and how your travel opened you up. Because you and I share this similarity with how you didn't really know why you were eating the same thing. Like you culturally, we grow up with the same foods that our parents ate and we start eating, the rhythm of our parents and our ancestors. And then, one day we travel and we realize, why was I eating that every day of
yeah.
my life? And then that travel and that exposure to different cultures open us up to all these vibrant colors. And I remember reading and I was feeling so connected to that part in the book where you were talking about the colors of the turmeric and all of the wonderful colors that you saw when you were traveling. And that's how I felt too. I thought there's all these spices and herbs that I'm not familiar with that are in other
Oh,
countries that just open up my eyes, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally with the people that shared them with me.
yes.
And then expands our consciousness by default because we're opened up to this whole new world. So I love how you're bringing in the digestion of other people's experiences and other cultures and other foods, and that we don't have to have the sandwich every day.
With the whole digestion metaphor is keep what you like and just let go of what doesn't serve you. And that's going to be unique in all of us. Like, I remember there's a lot of my girlfriends who hate coriander, which is, or cilantro,
Mhm.
that it is a very huge part of, for instance, Southeast Asian cooking.
Mhm.
So they would not like eating there. So we all digest things differently. And
Yeah.
you find over time, you can also change. Like when I was a kid, I did not like tofu. And coming from an Asian background myself, that's kind of like you not liking something really basic,
Yeah.
not liking white rice. You what? You don't like tofu?
Yeah.
I did not like it. It just was beany, it didn't smell good, blah, blah, blah. But now I love it.
Mhm.
So you change, you grow. And I think a lot of personal development people say the only thing that sticks with you is your spirit and how you've grown in your soul and your mind.
Mhm.
Because with our cell renewal,
Yeah.
and thank God I have grown since I've been born. I'm a
Yes,
little
yeah.
taller, you know? Thank goodness that happens. We have shed our physical bodies many times, but
Mhm.
the the
Spirit.
cumulative learning of our spirit continues. And so it's really important that we speak from the wisdom of our past, not from the injuries. And we
Yes.
let them heal, that really lovely saying of speak from your scars, not from your wounds.
Yeah.
Let them heal.
Let them heal. That's so deep. And it's so true. It's such a positive spin on everything, which is so good because it's like a motivating and inspiring read. Like I
Do
was
you feel
excited.
motivated and inspired?
I was motivated and inspired.
Aw,
And I love that section too on failure because I failed many times in my entrepreneurial endeavors, like just like something didn't
amen,
work.
sister.
Yeah, right? So we
Yeah.
both have that. And you say failure, like bad sushi, teaches you quickly what not to do again. I love that.
Yes.
So failure is not an option. The big scary F word. But also there's two of them in your book, failure and
Farting.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't even say it.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if you wanted to say it. I wanted to give
Oh,
you the glory of
yeah.
saying it.
Oh, thank you. I
Um
I
no,
feel
but
glorified.
I live in this part will resonate with so many people who are business owners, entrepreneurs. I mean, anybody really, because no matter who you are, we all fail at something. And I love that you say, and if you can learn to treat failure like digestion, simply something we process and release instead of something you hold on to, then maybe, just maybe, you'll start having the kind of life you really want. And that stuck me here because I
Oh,
held on to a failure of a startup for so long, like in the early 2000s. I just held on to that. It held me back. I was scared to do anything similar. I was like, I will never, ever go through that again. And it was like you said, I did not digest it. I was holding on to it, constipated somewhere in my colon that it was just there. It needed to be let go. And I think unraveling it over the past 10 years, because it was so long ago, was a process that I did and it finally free of it. But I resonated so much with it because I was holding on. I was so scared.
yeah.
I
And
did not
that's
digest.
right. That's a impacted fecal matter, which apparently
There you
doesn't.
go. Impacted. It was impacted into my being. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So do
I
you want
think,
to share some insights on that? Because I think everybody relates to that.
well, do you want me to talk about my biggest failure?
You go with it. You flow, girl.
Yeah. Well, my biggest fail, and this big failure was so big, it's followed me for years. It's like,
Mm,
uh, and it comes from that fixed mindset of achievement, right? And how at one point in my beautiful, huge town of 200,000 people, I was the best pianist of a certain age,
mhm.
right? And every time I did my exams, I got high, I can't remember what they calls, great distinction or whatever. So anyway, I was just going through my life with that. And then comes to the very final top of the line exam, which you get this huge certificate for, and which you've done a million other courses besides school. Like I had to do history and counterpoint and composition. It was so much. And I just had to do this one performance exam, which was like nothing. I knew all my pieces. I went in there, did my thing. And then 6 weeks later, because we're still operating by snail mail, that's how old I am. Um, I came home and the result envelope was open and it was on this little table. And I was like, okay, someone opened it. So I opened it and or pulled it out and it said fail. And I was just like, how can this be? How like uh I but this is exactly what my mind was going. I was stuttered, right? I just
Yeah.
didn't know what to do, didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
And I called my piano teacher and he's like, I do not understand this. His answer was that the person adjudicating me was racist,
Huh.
which because I played well, right? But he failed me on one piece that was actually a huge part of the mark. So anyway, he
Oh,
I was in tears
huh.
and my teacher said, "Will you try again? Like just there's two exam periods, let's go again." And I had already started working as an engineer. I was living in another city. I did not have a piano. And I was just like, no, it's
No.
over. It's done.
Yeah.
It's over.
Ooh.
And that failure, what it just, yeah, it hurts. And years later, my mom said she opened the letter
Yeah.
and she said, I just opened it because, of course you always get good stuff. And then she didn't talk to me about it. She just closed it back up, put it back on the table, and let me find it. And so looking back, there was no language in our family to deal with failure. And it was just swept under the rug. And it really affected me my entire life. I really have never played piano again.
Angela.
I know, right?
Oh.
So I'm processing all of this, and this in this book is the first time I've actually confessed it to the world.
Oh.
I met this girl I used to take lessons with, and she said, "So, did you do your CT exam?" And I was just, she didn't ask me if I passed it. She asked me if I took it. So I just said, yes, I took it.
Yeah.
She goes, oh, yeah, I did too. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, fine. But, it's still one of those things that you're kind of like, oh, beep.
Yeah.
But, when you go through that, and it is still, and actually, one of my best girlfriends read my book. And the first thing she said to me was, what about that piano exam?
Yeah.
And I was like, of all the things that I
Yeah.
wrote in the book, this is what
Yeah.
you picked out. And it still shows me that it still tweaks me a little,
It does.
but it's too late, right? It's this, but what it's taught me, yes,
But
you
it's not
just gasp.
it's not too late.
Well, kind of, because my fingers are mutilated. Like they're not,
Oh,
you need to have a certain type of finger
I
in
know.
order to play those pieces, right?
I okay.
So in a way, like it's taught me about the growth mindset. It's taught me that failure is not a finality until you've made it a finality.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's one of those learning points that I've now partially digested. I probably have a little bit of impacted fecal matter on this one.
Yeah, I would say it's hard.
Yeah, it is a hard one because I put so much of my time and effort into this. And yeah, it's one of the big tragedies of my life.
But it's not even that it was rendered like if you didn't feel confident and you went in and you felt like you messed up. It's almost that other part of it that you might not ever know. And that's the
Right.
deeper wound. The deeper wound is the racist wound. And I feel like that too would be like hanging over me, like thinking like, was this person really judging me for my play? Or like you said, like, was there other things that came in? And I could see that that would linger and you'd question and it'd be like the impaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's one of those things that, like you said, you'll never get an answer for. But some things you just have to let go. Like you don't, I mean, a best friend of mine, she's allergic to lettuce.
Yeah.
Come on, like who's allergic to lettuce?
Yeah.
And so you can never get to the bottom of why. You
Right.
just have to accept it and let it
Uh-huh.
go. If it
Yeah.
doesn't serve you, let it
Let
go.
it go. Let it go.
So yeah, I've been really learning this through my kids and not putting that fixed mindset on them and really celebrating the growth. And it just turned out to be better humans than me in terms of achievement. So I just watch in amazement as they go on their merry way. But
Yeah.
they're a growth mindset generation. And I love that. I love
Yeah.
that, I'm just on the sidelines with my pom-poms.
Yeah. And I like to say with my kids, they're a bit younger than yours, but we don't win or lose. We win or learn. We win or learn.
Oh, that's a good one.
And it's true because, I've had to put it into effect in my life too. Like if I'm not winning at an idea or creative endeavor, I'm learning. Learning.
Yeah.
I'm not losing. I'm learning. And it's always teaching us something, right? And expanding our spirit. But I want to touch on this, which I think is really good because it leads us into get out of my way, pay attention, your whole elimination section, and let's have some fun. I love that whole wrap up. This whole concept of people wanting to cleanse, like I come across and I have come across in the past 30 years in wellness, is like people want to do cleanses. It's like they feel like they're dirty in some way, like, or I'm so toxic. right? They'll be like, I'm so toxic, I need to cleanse. Or it seems to be they've always done it around times where you're overdoing things at the holiday, or like you have a really indulgent summer. And this is the time in the period where I go into helping people. I call it a gentle cleanse of your thoughts and what you're eating. I should say society is obsessed sometimes with these detoxes or cleanses. And the whole cleansing process is really like getting down to what's left inside so that we can eliminate. And that's everyone's joy is like, I can finally let go of all of this. I'm cleansed now. But then we can't go through life being totally clean all the time because we're constantly digesting. And
Yeah.
so this last part, when you say like, get out of my way, pay attention. I love the scale, by the way. People, there's a great scale in her written or any way you buy the book. Did you draw
Yes,
that yourself? There's the
I
poop
did.
scale. She
I
drew
did.
the poop scale of looking at your elimination, which people sometimes just want to flush it and get it out of the way. But like that's one of the things in Ayurveda is you look at your movements or your, elimination because you can then get a lot of data from it. And it's important to have that data so that we know how we can get better. So give me a summary of what you want people to know about that section.
Well, the whole get out of my way,
Yeah.
the point with that was, when you really have to go, you got to go. And that was one of the things, my kids, they would take the bus to school and the bus would come into our yard and then the kids have to be ready to go. And the only reason that I would give them for like having a bit of patience on my end was when they had to poo, because you can't stop that. You can't, so I'd be waving at the bus driver, sorry, he's got to go to the bathroom. And they'd wait because it's a universal thing of you got to wait. So increasing the momentum towards the things that you want in life so that there is no doubt you are going towards what you want. And everyone, when you have this vision, everyone is going to get out of your way,
Yeah.
and being able to have such conviction with the goals in your life. That was sort of the whole point of the momentum part. It's really funny how you in Ayurveda, how you want to look at your stuff.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want to look at it, but you know what it feels like, so you kind of know what it looks like, right?
Hmm? Yeah.
So, but it's really, like you said, it's informative because with each of our movements every day, and you talked previously about failure, is that when things aren't going well, when you don't have that perfect type 4 perfect poo of, we talked about the S shape before, which anyway, you have to read the book, I guess, for that part.
Yeah. They
But
have to read the book for that part. We don't want to give that away because
no,
that's good. Yeah. I think you should send it. I think you should send it to,
somebody.
yeah,
Yeah.
somebody. And that somebody you'll find out about in the book. I think
Yeah.
you have to send it. Send her whole team the book.
Yeah. 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 Anyway, it's data, right? So every day we're getting data about how things are going inside.
Mhm.
And that's about life. Every day is a little bit more data. What do you like? What agrees with you? What are you passionate about? And what you don't like. And then when you're getting that data, just flush it. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I got the learning. Thank you. Now I'm not going to think like who thinks about what they did in the morning. No, you flush it. You don't worry about where it is 3 days later. Did it make it to the tank? You know, just let it go and take the learning like, oh, I really like this, so I'm going to follow it. Or like, and that's equivalent to like, oh, I had this fiber cookie and it has never been better. I'm going to have some more. Don't eat
Yeah.
too much because of course then you'll
Yeah.
away. Right. So it's just data, and your life and your resulting emotions are just data.
Hmm.
I think that's the whole point in this is like follow your bliss, do what you want to do, take the data that you're getting from what you're doing to point you in the really unique place. Like you are so different from me. I am so, we're all this perfect combination of one
Hmm.
that is exploring the world.
Oh,
So your biggest gift, your biggest gift to the world is not that deposit in the toilet, but kind of, you know, it's, it's your very own unique stamp on the world. And so don't dim it. Don't dim your light.
No.
It's, you can't eat lettuce. Don't freaking eat lettuce.
Right.
Even though I thought it was most benign, I thought it's crunchy water, like who can't eat lettuce? My
I,
friend can't eat lettuce, so I'm not going to feed her lettuce.
yeah. And I love that part too. I love that analogy. Like, what is your lettuce? What is your lettuce?
Yeah,
Like,
it's going to be different
for everyone. Okay. And I love the final flush sections at the end. She gives the final flush
of each
of
chapter.
each
Yeah.
chapter. Yeah. At the end of each chapter, there's the final flush that summarizes, and you give great tips within there. Good learning. Maybe you should have a poop journal for everyone as a companion book to this
Yeah, maybe I should.
so
Little
that they can, take it a step
little
further.
workbook.
Yeah, a little workbook. Yeah. So, but okay, moving in and wrapping the whole thing up in that, who are you anyway? How did you end with that? How did you come to that synopsis? Was it just the journey of writing it, or did you always know that you wanted to have everyone realize that they're all connected over this pooping action that we do?
It's a good question, but I think when I examined why this speaks to me is that I remember I worked as an engineer overseas for a multinational. And so I remember going into the office and we're from all over the world. Everyone's talking about their vacations. Oh, I went hiking in the Alps. Oh, I was in Australia, blah, blah. And I was very new. And I was just like, I sounds nice, but I can't relate.
Yeah.
And I told a poop story, right? And everyone can relate.
Yeah.
So it's what I really find is important to me is connection.
Mhm.
And if everyone has a really deep experience and with their gut,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about when I tell you I have the runs, I gotta go, you
Yeah.
know. You've had that feeling. You've had that feeling of like there is no returning. Please move out of my way, otherwise it's gonna get messy.
Yeah.
We've all had that. So when I talk about that, no one is left out of the conversation.
Mhm.
And connection to me is the whole point of being here.
Yeah.
So I love people. I remember being, sometimes the only female young engineer going out to the field, and the grumpiest guy looks at me and, huffs, like who's this
Yeah.
young lady coming out?
Yeah.
And he's a freaking engineer, they're an operator.
Yeah.
In a month or so, they're my best friend. And because I just love learning from people. Everyone's got a story. Uh, yeah, and I think that's why I ended this book on connection and love.
Yeah. And that's really why we're all here.
Yeah,
It's for love is the
that's
ultimate.
my theory anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's a great way and a great journey to bring everyone into the mix because you're including all of humanity that we all do this same action every day, multiple times a day,
Yep.
and you're bringing us all together this way. I love that. And I think that this book should be out to the billions that are on this planet. And I see it. I see it.
Hello.
I see
Do you
it.
see my picture in Times Square?
Do. I do, Angela. I do.
Whatever. It'll be fun.
It is going to be fun. And it is fun even reading the book. So why don't you tell us right now where to find all of your stuff? I know that Amazon is number one spot, but like give everybody where to find you.
Well, it's published everywhere that you can buy books. So, Barnes and Noble, all those Kobo, it's everywhere. So if you don't deal with Amazon, you can find it. Any bookstore can order it.
Mhm. Which is
So I
good.
just can't get it into bookstores myself because
Right. You're
I
self-published.
I'm self-published.
Yeah. And we'll mention that Angela is a creator of a couple courses. Do you want to share about the courses that you have?
And we don't talk about crap in those courses. It's so I developed a way of thinking called relaxed productivity. And a lot of the concepts are in this book. So, the emotional scale, the who are you anyway part of examining who you are. A lot of that is comes from relaxed productivity. And so I have an online course and I have an online membership. We meet twice a month and we talk about life within this relaxed productivity framework. I do public speaking. One of my dreams is to talk about this book to a conference of wastewater professionals.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I've just put it out there and I'm kind of scared of it too. So it's a little bit of a big dream.
Mhm.
So it's one of those, you got to do stuff that kind of scares you a little
So
and then
true.
align with that energy and then just go out and, hit it out of the park. That's my thoughts on it. But yeah, to talk about crap in front of professionals, like, wouldn't that be amazing?
I think it would be. I think it would bring everybody off of any of their high horses and right back down to the basics. I
Yeah,
think that
because no matter who you are, you got to do this, man.
yeah, it's so true. So I love this conversation, Angela. It's called Using Number Two to Get to Number One. Angela Jamieson. It will be in the show notes. And we always have so much more to talk about, and we could keep yapping for hours. I'm sure there'll be another discussion. This is such great stuff. It's easy read, and it's definitely LOL laughing out loud every chapter. I have been laughing out loud, and even a great Audible. I listen to it on Audible too. So if you're the kind of person who doesn't want to buy the book and just listen to it when you drive, it's a great listen.
Thanks, JoAnne. I really appreciate all your support and I have to say, JoAnne was one of the people who would just say, when are you writing your book? When are you writing your book? Because I told you about it, when we first met.
Yeah,
I got to write this book. This is,
2021 we met.
yeah. So, and it's published in 2025. So you were encouraging me all the way. And so I really appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you too, and you're gonna help me get mine done.
Okay. Deal.
So we're there, sister. We're there together, in it
Yeah.
together.
And
So thank you so much. Thanks
sounds
for
great.
coming on,
Thank you
Angela.
for the opportunity and for sharing my book with your audience. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.